I'm Reginald Layton, Director of Diversity and Business Development for Johnson Controls. And on behalf of the Southwest Minority Supplier Development Council, we are delighted to have a special treat for you this afternoon. We're going to have a live radio simulcast digital situation going on this afternoon with a Connectors radio broadcast. Now this is streamed on the internet, and joining me this afternoon is Dr. Mel Gravely of the Institute of Entrepreneurial Thinking and Mr. Farad Ali from the North Carolina Institute for Minority Business Development. They'll tell you a little bit more about their organizations as we get started this afternoon. Farad and Mel are going to have some insightful conversation that we get to listen in on about supplier diversity and minority business development. We've asked them to be raw, transparent, and open with their dialogue. We're going to have them talk about the issues, and then you, as part of the live studio audience, will ask questions you've always had about supplier diversity, but were afraid to ask. So with that, let's get started. Let's start with Farad. Please introduce yourself, and then we'll go with Mel.
All right, wonderful. Good afternoon. Farad Ali with the Institute of Minority Economic Development, and we focus on working with women and minority-owned firms and building their capacity, helping them get access to capital, access to management, technical assistance, and helping them get access to market opportunities. And we focus on providing this consulting services mainly for minority businesses and corporations inside of the North Carolina area around development.
I'm Mel Gravely with the Institute for Entrepreneurial Thinking. Okay. I turned off my mic already.
I did. I really want you to talk.
Actually, they only gave me one thing to do, and that was turn the mic on, and I blew it, so I apologize. It's on now. I'm Mel Gravely with the Institute for Entrepreneurial Thinking. We're a think tank focused on improving the results of minority business development programs. We do work all around the country, helping with strategy, doing research. We do a lot of writing, so you'll see that most of the books written in the last decade about this topic probably come from the Institute for Entrepreneurial Thinking. We're excited to be live in San Antonio doing the Connectors show. Farad and I are going to really run the Connectors as we would if we were in the studio, which is normally the case. And we're excited to be here live, but also there's a little bit of trepidation as well. So let me just tell you about the Connectors a little bit. The Connectors is a radio program designed to have conversation about minority business development and supplier diversity that is candid, that is unconnected to any organization, that is all about advancing that, that conversation forward, both for folks who are in business and major buying organizations as well. And so we're excited about our partners. I'm excited about my partner, Farad. And anything you want to say before we get into the program?
No, I mean, the whole idea is to really focus on the D in development and moving corporations forward and minority businesses and not create excuses. And so that's why we're excited that we get a chance to be here in San Antonio, where the council had a title of retooling for the new economy. And we've talked about this before, that really we're in a brand new economy. The old economy is gone, and what does it mean to be in a new economy, and how do people play, corporations and minority businesses play fairly in this new economy? So I was going to talk to you about, when you look at the statistics of understanding of where we are today as corporations and minority businesses to engage in market opportunities, what does a new economy look like? I mean, we see that unemployment is high, corporations are looking at their balance sheet and looking at they can't necessarily affect revenue as much, so they're cutting on expenses. Right. We see diversity programs going away. We see development deteriorating. So how do we really kind of get back to this new economy and find this value add for minority-owned businesses?
Yeah, we've done this program a couple of times, and what we find is you and I often come at issues from a different perspective. And so I would say to you that I'm not so sure the economy's new. I think this economy has been showing us exactly what it is for the last 12 years or so. And the downturn illuminated some things, but they're not new. And so let me just give you a couple of trends. Corporations have more competition than they've ever had before. Sourcing options are now global, and so we're looking for the best source on the planet, not just the best source in my state. Right. We've got more options as it relates to diverse suppliers. We've got sourcing that's basically saying I want fewer suppliers and I want to be bigger. And the last one I'll just throw out, not that I've had an exhaustive list because I just made it up since I've been sitting here, but the last I'll say is this element of risk. You know, every major organization I talk to wants to give away their risk. They want to pass it to the supplier, they want to share it with others, they want to donate to worthy cause, they want to get rid of the risk.
Right. Well, we see that.
And I don't think that's new for us.
Well,
I hear people say new. What do you think?
well, I think that in the economy, when you're talking about that this situation is kind of this exhausted or showed us this opportunity because of economies go through, ebbs and flows, in this downturn. I think this was a unique economy that we had a situation where the government had to help come step into play,
Sure.
which created some new opportunities
Absolutely.
that were not regularly there.
Right.
So we got, an $800 billion infusion of cash from the federal government to kind of create a stimulus package.
Right.
Then they kind of refocused on something very different, right? We moved from this kind of products and services-based economy, now we're focusing on green, sustainability, repurposing, and kind of growing these new businesses. So when I start looking at this kind of retooling for the new economy, there are some new economies that we're looking at. We're looking at an economy where before sustainability and recycling was just a fad, but now it's a function of the triple bottom line, right? Now corporations are focusing on people, profits, and planet, right? How do we make sure that we take the human talent or our human development and grow that? How do we take our bottom line and be responsible in moving that forward? And how do we make sure that we're responsible for the environment? We know that certain situations has caused our environment to be in peril.
I just can't let you continue. I mean, I understand what you're saying. When we talk about retooling, I think, since we have a live audience, let's take off the pretense of political correctness. And we're going to ask for a license for 25 minutes not to be politically correct. So we might say something I might say something that will offend. I might say something that will offend.
But you're not mentioning big corporations.
I won't mention anyone by name, but they'll know who they are. No initials either, and they will become offended because they'll be self-indicted.
I may leave you by.
So acknowledge, I want the live audience to acknowledge that we have a license for 25 minutes not to be, not purposely mean, but just not politically correct. Can I get just an applause?
Yes.
Retooling for a new economy.
Okay.
We got to start with the top, which is our heads. We've got to retool our brains.
All right.
A couple of things I'll throw out there to you. Right now in supplier diversity, there's this general feel that let's spread the wealth around. Let's make sure more and more and more people get opportunity. That is contrary to every single sourcing strategy on the planet. And we're surprised that we don't have minority firms breaking through, levels of scale. Because every time they get to a particular size, I did get that license to be not politically correct. Every time they get to a particular size, and they really get the engine rolling, and they start gobbling up stuff, people say these words: they got enough. They don't say that about I almost said the name. They don't say that about other suppliers that they have. They want them to get the scale. They want them to be global. It seems like we've got this artificial damper. Just the system itself has a damper. So I think when we retool, we got to retool those minds. I don't want to just pick on the major buyers though for a while.
Yeah, when I look at these corporations, either it's a business or lifestyle business, which you have a choice. If you want to be a lifestyle business, if you want to be in a certain income range and give you a certain lifestyle, you have the right to do that in this environment. But I think businesses should understand how in this new economy, which I do believe is a new economy, we don't agree, but I do believe there is.
We don't have to agree.
Right, that people need to look at preservation and learning how to adapt and to learn new ways of doing business. So while corporations are saying, yes, we need to retool or look at our basis of how we grow businesses, I think we need to also grow responsible businesses, right? And make sure that we include all people in that space. So while we have seen corporations partner and merge. When you've got big banks merging that were once enemies,
Right.
big insurance companies merging, and you have all these these companies of global size merging to create a better system and recognizing how collaboration can optimize their businesses. I think this is a time when we should be talking to our minority-owned businesses about how they can also participate in collaboration to get ready for globalization and also meet the demands or the opportunities that these corporations are asking.
I can tell when you really want to get your point across.
I do.
You point at me and everything else. I agree with you. But I go back to my head thing, because is it new that we've been saying we need strategic alliances, joint ventures, companies need to get to scale? Is that new?
But is it new that we should be recycling and purifying the planet? but we have not made a priority.
It is a priority now.
It is a priority.
I'll give you that one.
So how do we make...
You won one today.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
So how do we make minority businesses a priority? Not just because of the demographics, but also understanding that minority businesses, if they had parity, right,
Yes.
would have what? $1 trillion economy, add to our buying of homes, building our disposable income, and playing in the right field. So it becomes important that not only do we look at where we are today, right, retooling for a new economy, look what we need to do for the future. And I think that's why it's important we have, you know, new ideas like the Global Center for Minority Education and Entrepreneurship, because we need to start building the minds, the human development of new entrepreneurs to take advantage of innovation, because now children or young adults have more, we've seen that they've used their innovation and technology to build their businesses. The top 500, Fortune 500 companies used to be corporations that were household names.
Right.
But today they have funny names.
Right.
Right? We're going to leave them nameless for today. But
well, and I agree with you. I'm glad you brought up the Global Center for Minority Entrepreneurial Education. And for the live audience, there is information on at your seat about this organization. And part of the reason I think it's so important that the Global Center for Minority Entrepreneurial Education continues to pursue its mission is because of this headroom. Let me give you a couple of stats that concern me. When you look at the propensity to be in business, minorities are 3 times less likely to be in business than the general population in a whole. And when that's the case, if you don't play the game, you can't win the game. And so for no other reason at all, we've got to start promoting entrepreneurship in a different way. And I got to tell you, for the last 37, 40 years, supplier diversity has been helping build a platform of minority business owners, and I like it. I believe it's been important. I believe it's been imperative. But what we did for the last 37 years will not 37 years.
oh, no question.
We're going to have to be more entrepreneurial.
Yes.
We're going to have to merge. We're going to have to acquire. Look at, and we're going to have to be. Here's the question: what do you do if you're not? What would you be doing right now if you were not a minority firm? And whatever the answer is what you better be doing.
Wow.
Well, think about it. Because that's where we are today. If you're not involved and engaged in the activities that grow privately held companies to scale, then you are not, it's going to be difficult to have a lifestyle business anymore. It's going to be difficult to kind of stay small under the radar and hang out because corporations they don't know what to do with you. And so I'm just saying, if you can't answer the question, what would I be doing if I wasn't a minority supplier? Actually, if you're not doing the things that are answered to that question, I think you're going to be in trouble, and it's not going to take long. I think in the next 5 to 7 years, you're going to see a lot of failures, or you're going to see a lot of, aggressive market activity. So you're going to have to choose one or the other.
Right. Well, I think that's also a cleansing of businesses in all situations, right? So when we start looking at what technology and business cases will provide, when you start thinking about like the 8-track and the 45 and the long playing disc. I don't know, you're not old enough to know that.
The 8-track?
Did you know about the 8-track? Digging the scene with the gangster lean.
Yeah.
Remember that? Okay, well, right. So now we're in the technology age where we got iTouches and iPads and iPods, right, which kind of changed the game. So how do we take this new economy of understanding that technology has moved us forward so fast and so quickly that if we're going to be in business as a minority-owned businesses, we have to be astute to those technology changes because corporations are operating in that same space.
So let's talk about what it takes to grow a company.
Right. Well, let's talk about also what it takes to develop a company because we also got to take these young minds and make sure that they become more ambidextrous in their learning.
Absolutely.
They can take that kind of learning and bifurcate it to multiple things in business so that we can be able to build something.
You went from 8-track to bifurcate? Quite a vocabulary going on here.
I'm learning.
Yeah, well, and so let's talk about that. I mean, in the new economy, as you like to call it.
New economy. You agree now?
No, I don't actually. I'm just trying to.
So what's the green economy? The green economy is the new economy?
Anyway, people are going to have to be able to recognize opportunity in growth markets.
Good question. And
again, that's why the Global Center is really focused on youth so they can start to learn and see. But corporations in this room, companies in this room, MBE or not, are going to have to see growing opportunity. They're going to find in places like the green economy where they can find, whether it's government. Right now, I heard someone today talking about that the government sector spending. Anybody, is that news to anyone?